I had but two goals when crafting this speech: to do something different and to share but not preach. Who am I to suggest what you should and shouldn't do? After you leave here today, those decisions are all up to you. So permit me instead to tell you a tale of a class that bonded over rain, sleet, and hail, of a class that saw obstacles blocking its way and how it pressed forth, that class which sits before you today. And to do this, I thought it'd be novel to try a poem, a technique not too common nor dry. So sit back, relax, but don't fall asleep, for here comes the story of the class upon which it rained a whole heap. It all began in this here court, a freshman picture of the rainy sort. Then into Johnson we all were all sent for a Killian kickoff indoors, still a major lament. 2 years later, engraved on our rat, a shower of raindrops real big and real fat. And as if to strike back, because of our ruse, the wet stuff fell down upon our ring cruise. Even last winter on a cold Halloween, taunting white flakes were witnessed and seen. Though not quite as slippery and not quite as wet, any MIT senior was not fooled, I would bet. From Six Flags to pub nights to island trips too, Mother Nature sure thinks she's gotten the better of me and of you. But as we now see, and though nature sure tried, the sun and the power now rest on our side. Nothing at all can stand in our way between us and our future on this graduation day. For we gathered seniors have been through it all, the highs and the lows, the rise and the fall. Not rain, nor work, nor sleepless nights will stop any of us from reaching new heights. And if you have doubts on what I've just said, simply look at the faces on each senior seated. On that visage, you will most definitely see a reflection of strength fashioned by MIT. You'll find wisdom and courage and friendship and joy, critical elements only the happiest employ. For we are the seniors of 2001, crouched in our starting blocks and ready to run. So fellow seniors, I say this to you: congrats, best of luck, and to thine own self be true. Thank you. And now for the presentation of our senior gift. I am pleased to announce that this year's senior class achieved the highest level of senior gift participation ever in the history of MIT. Our 39% participation shattered the 29% record set in 1989. Portions of this gift will go towards the establishment of the Class of 2001 Student Life Scholarship Fund. Over the past 4 years, our class has contributed a great deal to the shaping of MIT's future academic, residential, and social life. In order to recognize and promote the continuation of similar efforts, the Class of 2001 Student Life Scholarship will reward underclassmen whose unique ideas profoundly impact student life. I would also like to thank Brian Hughes, the president of the Alumni Association, for his Fibonacci challenge that resulted in his matching the senior gift 3-to-1. Dr. Vest, if you would please join me at the podium. I'm sorry, I don't have a toy truck. On behalf of the class of 2001, I would like to present you with our senior gift of over $30,000.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Finally, I invite all the seniors to take one last look at their brass rat and its view of the Boston skyline. Take a moment and reflect on all that you've gone through with that grinning beaver sitting on top of your knuckle. Now comes the moment we've all been working for at MIT. Turn that brass rat around and show the whole world what you've accomplished. Congratulations, class of 2001. We made it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tseng and Mr. Kachani, you have both passed the communication requirement. Your words and your gifts mean a great deal to MIT and to the generations of students that will benefit from your generosity. And I must say that these gifts also have a larger value, somewhat harder to measure, but just as important, because they represent a wonderful reassurance that MIT has met your expectations and a vote of confidence that we will continue to meet your standards and earn your respect. Thank you again. Now, I have something important to tell you. This year, MIT students won the National Collegiate Weather Forecasting Contest, and I'm sure you'll join me in congratulating them and their advisor, Ludovika Ilari. Just look at this day they have provided for your commencement. Thank you very much. I also want to take particular note of a remarkable group of individuals with us here today, the members of the class of 1951. When they gathered at commencement, when they gathered at commencement 50 years ago, many of them were veterans of World War II, only a handful were women, and all of them, I'm sure, were feeling the same sense of accomplishment that you feel today. Their class, like yours, was graduating just as MIT was entering a major period of campus construction, a building boom to house teaching and research programs connected to the extraordinary advances in science and technology that were made during and just after the war. Some things, however, were very different. In 1951, the most elaborate brass rat that you could have worn and turned around cost $24. And mailing a thank you note for your graduation presents would have cost a 3-cent stamp. Forgive me if I refuse to tell you what they paid in tuition. Times have indeed changed. With all they have witnessed since their own graduation, the class of 51 could tell us much about where we have been and probably quite a bit about where we will go. And they could also tell us about one thing that never changes, the pride you can take in knowing that you have earned a degree from MIT. So here we are, gathered once again in Killian Court to celebrate accomplishment, heritage, and passage. We are surrounded by your parents, family, friends, spouses, and children who have supported and sustained you through the years. You will recognize them today by their smiles, brought about by their great pride in your accomplishment, and no doubt by a sense of great relief to their bank accounts. Let us then again express our deep appreciation to all of your family and friends and loved ones who have come to Cambridge to gather together in your commencement ceremony. Will you please rise, turn to them, and this time really give them the applause that they so richly deserve. Thank you. I am proud today to be sitting on the stage next to my friend Dan Golden. He is a patriot, a visionary, and an accomplished leader. But I'm also reminded of what the famous Washington hostess, Alice Roosevelt Longworth, is purported to have said to a guest at a dinner party. If you can't say anything nice about someone, come sit here next to me. Well, actually, I'm not going to say anything bad about the space program because I happen to believe it's very important. In fact, I believe that the exploration of outer space is a great human endeavor of fundamental importance and one that has barely begun. But I am going to say to you in this charge that there are other spaces to explore that are of even greater importance. If ever there was a commencement in a class full of symbolism and opportunity, it surely is this one, the commencement of the MIT class of 2001. In your time here, you have spanned the change of the century, and you are the true millennial class, the first to graduate within this new millennium. When we, speaking to the undergraduates, first assembled in Kresge Auditorium 4 years ago, you were greeted, predictably, and as you were again this morning, by a foreboding and inspiring movement from Richard Strauss's Also sprach Zarathustra. To almost everyone in this courtyard, of course, that evokes but one thing, the opening segment of Stanley Kubrick's film 2001, A Space Odyssey. Indeed, on that August morning in 1997, you and we were setting forth on an odyssey. But it has not been and will not be an odyssey only to outer space. It has been and will be an odyssey to inner space and an odyssey to common space as well. And as in Homer's epic poem, it is an odyssey that ultimately is a return to our homes and families, to the people surrounding you on this day, and to the ideas and things that make us human and give sustenance to our lives. During these past several years, we have journeyed to inner space. Along the way, I'm sure that you have discovered that the most profound challenges of learning lie within yourselves. This is true of most of life's great challenges. If we are to summon strength and courage, to know something deeply, to find resolution to conflict, we must always draw on the inner summation of what we have been given by our genetic heritage and by our nurturing, learning, and experience. But I want to talk to you primarily about our journey to common space, the places we inhabit together, physically, intellectually, socially, spiritually. This is where we must go. Perhaps this is where the greatest challenges are. And as we travel to common space, I see a great tension, a tension between the forces of integration and fragmentation. We inhabit an earth together. True to the spirit of Odyssey, that was never made so clear as when spacefarers surveying the moon turned their cameras backward to photograph our Earth. And we saw ourselves as never before, not as the masters of the universe, but as inhabitants of a tiny, shimmering, fragile sphere. Yet even that remarkable sight or insight, we remain very tentative about making choices and taking actions to protect that fragile environment, the physical and spiritual conditions upon which the quality of our lives and indeed our very existence depend. True, we have made great progress in developing technologies for communication and networking that serve our common space. Indeed, we are able to tie together our knowledge and thoughts and actions as never before. Yet even as this has happened, our world is fragmenting in countless ways. We see rising religious and ethnic conflicts on every continent. We find growing disparities of income, with hunger and disease flourishing amidst a world of plenty. We find ignorance and lack of education within even the most advanced societies. We find it difficult to determine whether the internet is living up to its potential as a force for empowerment and democratization, or whether it is simply providing a medium for bringing together more and more people with narrower and narrower common interests. It will be up to you as leaders of a technological age to be the explorers and builders of common space, to resolve these conflicts and to improve our world and the quality of life within it. Do not let us realize the terrible vision set down in those familiar phrases of William Butler Yeats. Turning and turning in the ever-widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart. the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Do not let such forces prevail. Rather, seek the best that is found within your inner space and bring it to bear on what confronts us in common with all humanity. Build us a world that can feed and shelter all of its citizens and keep them well, a world that prizes clean air and water, even as it builds strong industries and strengthens economies, a world that honors the wisdom of the ages and of the aged, but also offers opportunity to the young, a world with a sense of wonder that has the courage to explore the universe of mysteries around, within, and beyond us, a world that conquers hate and treasures peace, a world that knows and lives the true meaning of community. Aspire to this, and you will indeed have an odyssey worthy of a new millennium. And now, as you embark on this next stage of your journey, I place this charge before you. Dare to think the unthinkable, question the status quo, live in the world as well as within your own nation. Dream of a better future, but contribute to the present. Share your talents. Commune with all people. Be competent friends and bold companions. Address the truly important issues of your times. Be honest in all that you do. Men and women of MIT, I wish you Godspeed and the very best of good fortune.
By virtue of the authority delegated to them by the Corporation of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and on the recommendation of the faculty, President Vest will now present the following degrees: Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Science, Master of Science, Bachelor of Science, Master of Engineering, and the advanced degrees for the School of Science and the Whitaker College of Health Science and Technology. The names of the recipients will be read by Dean Robert Redwine, Associate Provost Philip Clay, Dean Larry Benedict, Dean Robert Silby, and Dean J. David Litster. Provost Robert Brown will present the advanced degrees for the School of Architecture and Planning, the School of Engineering, the School of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences, and the Sloan School of Management, with the names of the recipients being read by Dean William Mitchell, Dean Thomas McNanty, Chancellor Lawrence Bacow, Dean Philip Curry, and Dean Richard Schmolensky. The first graduates to be recognized are the class marshals who are seated on the stage.
Recognition will now be given to the officers of the class of 2001 and the officers of the Graduate Student Council who are seated on the stage. Erick Tseng, President of the class of 2001, is awarded the degrees of Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering and Computer Science and Master of Engineering in Electrical Engineering and Computer Science. Satwik Sai Seshasai, Treasurer of the class of 2001, is awarded the degree of Bachelor of Science in Computer Science and Engineering. Sulaiman Kashani, President of the Graduate Student Council, is pursuing the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Ryan J. Kirshner, Vice President of the Graduate Student Council, is pursuing the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Bachelor of Science diplomas will now be presented to students in the School of Architecture and Planning who have completed the specified degree requirements.